We're excited for our next guest in MKT355 Sports Selling and Sales. Um, Zach Henderson is a sports industry veteran, having worked at different sports properties like the Flyers, Nationals, Colts, and Eagles. Zach recently made the change to the tech space and is now the Director of Client Success at WolfCycle. So we are looking forward to hearing from Zach, and so welcome.
Awesome. I appreciate it, JP. How's it going, everybody? Um, if it works for you, I can always just start with an introduction and we can go from there.
That's great. Yeah, just tell yeah
Yeah.
tell the group a little bit. Maybe just give them, obviously I know your background, but tell the
Yeah.
group a little bit about your background in the sports, and then obviously we want to hear about the new role and how it's going and what you're doing, and it's exciting stuff.
Absolutely. So, first and foremost, I know I am the only thing standing between everybody and lunch. So my goal here is to keep this lighthearted. Hopefully, you guys learn a few things, get to know me a little bit better, and we have some fun with it. So, um, again, I'm Zach Henderson. I'm currently the director of client success at the WolfCycle. A little bit about my background. I'm originally from Lancaster, so I'm a Pennsylvania guy originally. Grew up there. I like probably most of you or a good chunk of you, like I was fortunate enough to know what I wanted to do. I wanted to work in sports and was a sport management major. I went to Indiana University of Pennsylvania, out near Pittsburgh. Got my degree there while I was in school. Actually, was fortunate enough to land an internship with the Philadelphia Eagles. This is when training camp for any Eagles fans. This is when training camp was up at Lehigh Valley. So got to go up there all summer, pretty much, and live on campus and work training camp, which was awesome. And that's really what solidified for me that, yeah, this is what I want to do. When I'm standing in the lunch line behind Deuce Staley and LaShawn McCoy, getting my salad, like, I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. So coming out of that, I was a senior at IUP. I was fortunate enough, to help start a sport management, like almost like career fair, if you will, and sport business conference. And through that, met somebody at the Steelers that I was able to parlay into an internship my senior year, in marketing. As many of you will hit at some point, I was coming up senior year, um, coming up on graduation, and I was kind of freaking out a little bit. I'm like, I have two internships. I've done a lot. I thought, it would be really easy to just get a job right out of school, and I started to apply. Went on Teamwork Online. For those of you that are familiar, if you're not, I would check it out. I probably did 50, 60 applications, if I'm being honest, and I wasn't hearing back from anybody. And really, it's because I didn't understand how the whole sports industry was structured and where my opportunities were. But I was fortunate enough, I picked up the phone and called who I worked for at the Steelers, and I said, "Do you guys have anything coming up?" They said no, but I'll tell you what, one of my good friends runs the sales and service team at the Pirates. I'll introduce you. And through that, I was able to get an opportunity, starting in inside sales with the Pittsburgh Pirates coming out of graduation. Now, I'm not sure on this call the range of experience as well as interests of where you guys want to go in this industry. There's a lot of different things you can do. For me specifically, though, I had never thought about sales. I'll be very candid. My whole background was marketing, events. Really, that's where I thought I was going to fit, in the industry. I was at the Pirates probably 2 weeks, and I realized this is what I'm meant to do. The opportunity to literally talk sports all day, engage with the fan base, and not only that, for any of you that resonate with the idea of, I always hated the concept of maybe there's a group project and some people pull their weight a little more than others. Not that any of you would ever do that, but and at walking away from it, everybody would get the same grade. I was the person that wanted to bet on myself. I was the person that wanted to be in control of my day to day. And the idea in sales that I could control my income, control my growth, that was super appealing to me. So I was with the Pirates for about just under 5 years. I started an entry level. I worked my way up to a senior seller. I was looking for growth. There wasn't a lot of opportunity there. So as I looked around the industry, there was an opportunity with the Washington Nationals. It was closer to home for me. It was a great market to be in. So I transitioned down there. I spent a little bit of time overseeing some of the larger corporate accounts, a lot of the suite holders, a lot of the companies in the corporate community there, before getting the opportunity to step into a leadership role. So I started my career in inside sales, and coming full circle, when I was in DC, I had the opportunity to step in as the inside sales manager running my own team. I spent almost another 5 years with DC. Was there during the World Series run, which was amazing. I am a Phillies fan at heart, so it was a little tough, getting to celebrate that. But amazing experience. It's kind of what you dream of as a kid. I played baseball growing up, so I never thought I'd have a ring for working for a team. I always thought I was going to win one as a player, but Really cool experience. I got recruited actually to go out to Indianapolis with the Colts. There was I just welcomed my son into the world. Me and my wife had just had a baby, and baseball was great, but the hours were really wearing on me. And the Indianapolis Colts approached me about an opportunity to run the sales and service team for ticketing. So moved the family out to the Midwest. I was there for about a year, and we found out we were pregnant with our second child. And I'd always promised my wife we would come home. Um, the east side of Pennsylvania is home for us, and we always wanted to get back here, especially near Philly. And when I was looking, I saw that the Flyers were hiring, and that's how I got home. So about 3 years ago, I took the opportunity to come home and work for my hometown team with the Flyers. I was over all essentially new revenue and new sales on the ticketing side. Was there again, I was there about 3 years. I loved it. I really loved what I was doing. But for the first time in my career, there was kind of two things that happened for me. Number one, I loved what I was doing, but I felt like I was no longer being challenged in my day to day, and I wanted to find other opportunities of ways I could be challenged. I have two young children, which are they're my world. So also, looking at an opportunity that might give me a little more flexibility in my schedule was important. And then also, just trends I'm seeing is sports teams are really starting to use technology more than ever. And I mean, I don't have to tell anybody on this call how big technology is. You guys grew up with it, right? Have grown up with it. Teams are really starting to wake up and starting to implement new technologies that are out there to help them drive revenue. And I noticed that there was starting to become a lot more opportunities on the technology side to work with sports teams. And that was really appealing to me. So about 2 months ago, a company called WolfCycle had an opportunity open. I interviewed and was fortunate enough to get the opportunity as the director of client success. So, well, what does that mean? That just means that me and my team oversee all the current relationships we have with sports properties. So, when I was at the Flyers, we were actually looking at signing WolfCycle. That has not happened yet, but I oversee a handful of accounts at anything from the Buffalo Sabres through, the Tampa Bay Rays. We have about 240 partners across all big four leagues, essentially, including then also MLS, minor league baseball, minor league hockey. Anybody that is looking to drive revenue, we have the ability to work with. So I'll pause there for a second. I made that transition. I've been with WolfCycle now for about 2 months, so I'm still getting my arms around everything. It is the first time in my career I've not been on the team side, so it's a little different for me. Definitely some growing pains. I'm fully remote in what I do day to day, so I'm getting used to the Zoom fatigue, if you will, at the end of the day. But it's been an incredible move for me and my family. I love what I do day to day. And we have a really good team. We are a true startup as well. So I was employee number 19. So it's not anything I'm used to coming from the Flyers, where we're owned by a Fortune 50 in Comcast. So that's kind of my background, my story. JP, happy to talk a little bit more about what I do day to day, or if there's anything else you want me to jump into.
Yeah. So what Zach didn't tell you was Zach actually brought the collegiate sales program
Yeah.
to St. Joe's, and he was the guy that was sort of the first guy to bring this. And St. Joe's was one of the schools that piloted this program, and the students are doing it now. So the students are actually
Perfect.
actively doing it. And Mike and Jess had come in right early in the beginning of the semester, and so these guys are hopefully running and selling, and some of them have had some really good successes. So we can talk about that a little bit later. But yes, Zach, I love to hear about WolfCycle, about how AI is helping sports properties, and what you see as sort of this future trend in sports sales.
Absolutely. And I would love to come back to the college sales program that is near and dear to my heart. So I definitely let's put a pin in that. But yeah, so I'll try to make it as simple as possible. WolfCycle was a company founded in 2020. During COVID, there was a gentleman by the name of Ryan Miller who worked for the LA Kings. He was running all of their ticket sales. And what he noticed was there was just a kind of a gap in sports is a lot of other industries were starting to adopt technology to enhance communication, meaning like to using AI, for instance, to push out email communication, text communication, whatever it might be, to build a lot of campaigns. If anybody here has ever been to a sporting event and then received an email after the fact about, hey, would you be interested in, XYZ, or you're getting, solicited, if you will, with information. There were other industries that were starting to do this, but sports lagged behind. Ryan saw an opportunity and he partnered with our co-founder, Scott Cornfield. And they went in and they said, you know what, let's try this out. And what started as a hobby kind of blossomed into one of the fastest growing companies in sports tech. Flash forward, We're currently sitting now at, I think, 22 employees. We work with over about 240 different sports teams or properties. And what we do is very simple. We will sit down with a team that's not working with us, and the conversation is very simple. They have more leads that they want to contact. They have more information they want to push out than any team has the bandwidth or the manpower to handle. That's where we come in. What we do is we will work with the team. We create what's called a virtual assistant or multiple virtual assistants. And essentially what it is we'll create a virtual person that to the outside world seems like they actually work for the team. So the Buffalo Sabres come to mind because they're just a team I met with recently that work with us. They have, I believe, three virtual assistants. They all have a name. They have a signature that looks like they actually work for the team. Coming up with names is always the best part when we work with a new partner of like figuring out what we want to name the virtual assistant. And all the communication that's being pushed out comes from somebody that is deemed that looks like they work for the organization. And what we're doing is there's one of two sides of the fence teams fall on. They either say, look, here's this lead, here are all these leads that we will never get to. We'll never have our sales team call them. Like they will, we just, there's higher scored leads that we'll have our staff call. We'll work through those, emailing them, using different campaigns that we set up of like different offers. Hey, like, whether it's click here to buy, or maybe the messaging is let's set a meeting with one of our staff members. On the other side of the fence, we have teams that give us their warmest leads. It might be people that decided not to renew their season tickets for this year, and we'll run them through a campaign saying, we want you back. Here's an offer, whatever it might be. But at the end of the day, what we do is our VAs push out email communication around the clock for teams. They don't eat, they don't sleep, they don't get tired. They just continuously push out email communication that otherwise would never have gone out. And then what happens is our AI is not only pushing the email communication out, but every time we get a response to that inbox, the AI flags it and identifies it as what type of response, a positive, a negative, whatever it might be. And then we have our the human interaction, which makes us different than some of our competitors, where we'll go in and identify who that needs to go to, or whether there's interest or not interest, or whatever it might be. And we have the ability then to hand it off to somebody on the team side. So we'll respond if somebody writes back and says, "Hey, yeah, I'm actually, I got a new job. I'm thinking about renewing my season tickets this year." And we get that response. We'll respond with what we call a handover message, and that introduces somebody on the team side and says, or their service rep that they had before, and says, "Great, we'd love to introduce you to so and so. They're the internal experts. We'll let them take it from here." So a lot of the job titles we put on these VAs is something that's not like a senior salesperson, but more of like a coordinator type position. So it makes sense that we're doing outreach, but also at the same time going to hand it off. I know that's a mouthful and that's a lot, but essentially that's what we do. And then teams can be as creative as they want for us. We're doing everything from current clients that we're going after, just pushing messaging out. We have sales messaging that we're pushing out for individuals. We even have, if anybody's ever been to a game as a part of a group, like a thank you message. But anything that would help the team supplement volume of emails being sent out and communication, or helping to drive revenue, we step in. We also, for any of you out there that has an interest in corporate partnerships, that's also something I know that comes up a lot. We work with a number of corporate partnerships teams. The New York Jets use us on the partnership side. They had us sifting through leads that they were never going to have their staff call, but they thought, what the heck? Like if we get, a company to respond to us about signing a partnership, let's do it. They're on the 2 yard line right now. I can't say the company or the exact amount, but like a high six-figure deal. That's a 3 to 5 year deal that they've baked out with a company that we handed over to them. So it is really interesting being on this side. I've always been on the team side thinking about driving revenue for ticketing and sponsorship for teams. Now I get to be the technology that's utilized to help supplement driving a lot of the communication and the revenue, which is great in a couple of facets. Number one, we're seeing real results and we're helping teams that maybe they have smaller staffs. Minor league baseball is one of our biggest hubs because they have very small sales teams. We come in and help supplement that. But at the end of the day, we're truly helping teams with the outreach and bandwidth issues that they're having, which has been really cool to be on the side of it.
Zach, it's interesting. So, we always talk about in sports sales, it's a numbers game. It's it's transactional, right? It's 100 calls a day, right? And that's sort of what you train your staff to get used to, doing. But so I guess this is sort of really interesting in that, hey, we're going to utilize the technology to do the same stuff and do it more efficiently. At the same time, I also will argue that sports sales is a relationship driven business. And so how do you find that balance between doing things more efficient, but also maintaining those relationships with your fans?
100%. So there's a couple of things there. First of all, whenever I tell somebody what I do now, one of the first things they say is, "Oh, are you the ones that are replacing jobs?" Right? And I'm here to tell you that's not what we're doing. We are simply supplementing. There's nothing that we push out that closes unless a team puts like right now I work with USC football. They're pushing football deposits for next season for the collegiate space. They do have an option that says, "Hey, click here to put your deposit down for next year." That is an example of us, quote unquote, like cutting somebody out. But in reality, a sales rep never would have gotten a commission or any type of revenue or a board revenue from a deposit. That still makes its way over to a sales rep then to go convert it. Everything we do is like the starter. We're starting the conversation. We're warming leads up. We're doing the dirty work that usually took staff members a lot of time to do, but they didn't have results directly from it. Now we get the supplement, and the reps can focus on the highest our activities with the highest ROI, but then we can continue to add to their lead list for them. So I think that's a very important differentiator for us, is that we're not replacing what the staff's doing. We're simply just taking all of the dirty work that they had done before. That's a huge time consumption for them. We're doing it for them, and a lot of times we're even doing it with leads they never would have touched. A lot of times we're digging in areas of people that maybe haven't been out in 3 years, or leads that just never would have made their way to the staff. The other part to this too is the human element. We have yet to have any, you know, weird situation where somebody's like, "I want to meet so and so," and it's the name of the virtual assistant. We talk to teams all the time that joke that they'll be at a game and somebody will come up and say, "Oh, I've been talking to Sophia. Sophia's actually our VA." But that's the human element we put into it. It's an actual signature. It's an actual email inbox. That's another thing. The team will create an email inbox for this individual, which is where these emails come into, and works with our software. But we keep a human element so that it's not marketing based. I think that's the biggest thing too. A lot of teams have their marketing departments push out generalized messaging. When we work with a partner, we're actually talking campaign to campaign. We're helping them write the copy. We're making recommendations on here's where we've seen the best results. And it's very personalized, no different than a sales rep sending out personalized information about what's going on. I really want to talk to you. We have customized fields we can put in these emails. So we have the ability for somebody, we can pull in any information the team provides us. So their current seating location, their tenure with us. We also have an auto scheduling tool. So the VA is saying, "Hey, click here, if you don't want to respond to me," type of thing, like here's over the next 2 weeks, here's all my availability, and they can click a box and schedule a phone call around their time. And what's funny is the calendar widget is actually pulling from one of the staff members on the team side, pulling from their calendar. So the minute somebody clicks and books, that staff member gets a calendar invite for a call with somebody that now has interest. So we try to keep as human element as possible for it, so people actually don't know that it's a virtual assistant. It's nothing more than a handoff and supplementing what the staffs are doing. And the results we're seeing is that a lot of teams, we're not replacing headcount, but what we're doing is we're increasing the ROI per every staff member there, because they're getting warmer and warmer leads that they're now spending their time on, versus digging through a lot of the stuff that previously they would have done that now that we're doing. So it's a really interesting concept, and it's been something that we're seeing a lot of success with. The final thing that I think really separates us as a company, we do have one competitor in the space. They are much more volume based and much more high level. It's not as personalized. We share best practices across teams. So, for instance, the Jersey Blue Claws, if you guys are familiar, they're out in like Central Jersey, if there is a thing. I know that's a point of contention. But we were working with them, and they wanted to know, "Hey, we get donation requests all the time. We'd love to solicit them. Do you have anybody that?" And immediately we're like, "Yeah, actually, we have another minor league team that's done this. Here's the email copy of what they put out there. Feel free to let me know how you'd like to, tweak it, adjust it." And we're more consulting than anything. And then that's the final part of my job. We were just on with the Chicago Bulls, and we were like, "Look, you're doing these things really well, but here's the other areas the NBA teams are excelling in and you're not hitting on. We'd recommend XYZ." So there's a consulting piece to this as well across teams, and teams love to know what other teams are doing and finding success with. We can share that directly between properties.
So, and I think you hit on it a little bit, because the question it sort of comes to mind now for me is that is your system is tying in with the CRM to pull data points, or are you using your CRM to sort of classify groups of customers, and then you customize that messaging that goes out? What sort of, or is
Yep.
it all the above, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's a great question. So, we integrate directly with almost every CRM out there: Salesforce, Dynamics, Core, HubSpot. But there's two types. I'll start with just the data. When we talk to somebody about a new campaign, I need two things to launch it. I need the data that they want to go email out to the individuals, the buyer list, and I need the copy. We will provide them examples if they want it, and we help write the copy for them based on the best practices we've seen, right? Like that's the beauty of having 240 partners. We've seen what works and doesn't work. So we'll help them create that. Then to launch it, I build it in our system. For the leads perspective, there's two ways that we can load leads in to start emailing out from the virtual assistant. Either A, through an integration with their Salesforce, they can just load it in on the back end. Like their software, their BI team can load all the data on their end. We never have to touch anything. I'll just go in and see it there and it's ready to roll. Or we have teams that don't do the integration. They'll send us an Excel or a CSV file. We load it in for them and then we push it out. So the data is coming from the team side. We're not providing data when it comes to the average consumer. They're providing that lead list to us. And then for email copy, we will make suggestions, or some of them will have examples of like, all right, we want to do a campaign that's 4 to 5 touch points across 15 days. So 4 to 5 emails, we'll space them out. Here's what we want to do. And then here's exactly what we want it to say. And we'll put that into our system and launch it. The only other thing that we offer is once a month, we will do a pull of companies for them through a software we use called Seamless AI. It allows us to pull data and context from business, any business in the local area. So as a part of our partnership, we'll also do a pull for them if they say, hey, I really want to do a business campaign where we're trying to sell suites or whatever it might be. We can also, as a value add free of charge, do a pull for them and get anywhere from 700 to 1,000 company leads with actual contact information. That's the only time we'll provide data, and we'll load that in for them as well.
Yes, that was my next question, which actually sort of hit on it. So in this class, we've talked a lot about the concept of sort of that bringing the average customer into like that escalator, right? Bringing them in an entry level that they're comfortable with, and then
Yep.
over time, increasing, their spend, their annual spend, or the amount of games that they go to.
Yep.
Um, can your tool be also used in that concept where, hey, we're going to take our existing season ticket base and we're going to now be able to figure out and cultivate upgrades or upsells, fans that maybe had a mini plan but now are going to go into a half or a full.
100%. So that's a concept the team would do normally on a year-to-year basis when they're looking at, all right, so for when they're building out their campaign for the year, it's like, okay, what are all the things we need to do? Upsells, cross-sells, add-ons, these are all things that teams would normally do. We can supplement some of that bandwidth for them. And even just be on the front end of like, all right, we'll send the email communication out. All the people that get back to us, like you can have those, and the rest then they'll take and have their staff continue to work on. But regardless, as it pertains to, I'll start with just like warming people up and moving them through the funnel. As creative as the team can be and the ideas that we've seen, we can implement almost anything. So I'll start at the basics. We have campaigns right now running where people are taking people that came to one game last year or like 2 to 3. They're pushing out messaging about, well, we're offering a mini pack or a flex plan or, a 5 game pack. Here are the benefits. Here's the cost savings. Um, and we're pushing that messaging out to try and tee people up of like, all right, it's a warmer lead. They've been out recently. They came to a couple games, and now for only a little bit more and these benefits, they could look at a 5 pack. And that's how we walk people up the ladder organically. We help supplement that messaging. What's also really cool is we have something we call widgets, which means within our email, we have things that we can pull in that every person is a variable based on the Excel they send us. So for instance, we a lot of times will use a widget for somebody's first name. So in our email, we'll write hi, and then we put the first name widget. It's smart enough then to go for every single person, go back to the Excel they sent us or the data they loaded and pull the first name into that email every single time. What we can also pull in is pretty much anything you can think of that they can put on that Excel. So their tenure with us, the number of years. If we want to call out, as we talk about growing business, if we have a season ticket member with us, we have teams that are doing what's called an adjacent seat campaign, meaning me and my family have had season tickets for the Flyers and these seats for the last 10 years. All of a sudden, this 2 seats beside us opened up because somebody did not renew. Teams will run campaigns where they'll send us the current location of somebody and the location of the seat beside it that's available. And we'll put a widget in there so that when the email comes through, it'll say, "Hi JP, appreciate you being a long time season ticket member with us. We know that you currently sit in section 123, row, J, seats 1 and 2. We want you to know that just recently seats 3 and 4 just opened up. Would love to talk more about any interest in adding those seats on or anybody you might know that wants to sit next to you for the upcoming season." So we have the creativity to do a lot of upgrade campaigns or, walking people up the ladder. Anything you can really think of, we can help a team create. And then it's more just about who we going after and like what are we putting in the messaging at the end of the day.
Okay. So, Zach, I know we have a hard stop at 12 o'clock. And
Hmm.
so I'd like to at first just welcome Dr. Allen here. He's joined us today. He's here on behalf of the Innovation Center and was really interested in hearing about AI and WolfCycle. So Dr. Allen or any of the students, do you have any questions for Zach? We'll get started with that, and then we'll kind of, we'll see how much time we have left after that. Don't be shy.
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
I just wanted to ask, what was the biggest adjustment you had when you transferred from like going from just teamwork to more like the AI sector, and how did you deal with that?
Um, I I want to say everything, but I don't know if there's any one thing, Peter, honestly. Everything of my day-to-day that I've known for the last 13 years changed. I'm working fully remote, where previously every day I was in the office around people. Now I'm more isolated. I was on the team side focused on one line of revenue and how do I increase it. Now what I'm doing is trying to help, under my umbrella. I think we have like 100 teams under my oversight. How are we helping them increase value? Previously, we would keep a bead on what other teams were doing, at the Flyers, but we were going to do our own thing. Whereas now I'm helping to consult. So there's not a ton of parallels with the exception of my skill sets and how those apply. Right. So being able to sell somebody on the idea of why they should be looking at doing a service campaign as well as a sales campaign, the understanding of my service background on how to ha handle difficult situations that pop up. There's a lot of that carryover, but it was a huge change for me. Everything is very, very different. The adaptation was very easy. I have an incredible team here. The leadership team's fantastic. They truly care. And every single person in this company, with the exception of one, that is the co-founder, has come from the team side. So they also understand my background. They get what I do, what I've done previously, and they've just been incredibly welcoming and supportive to help me get up to speed on the day to day. So it's more of that. My whole purview has changed completely, but my skill sets carry over that apply to what I'm doing day to day. And really, it was just about staying very organized, trying to add value as early as possible, just by hopping in on calls and using some of my past experiences to try to help some of our partners, and just trying to learn as quickly as possible.
That's
Appreciate it. Thank you.
all
Absolutely.
right. That's a great point, Zach. Just with the company as a whole has a background in sports. I think
Yep.
it's really beneficial as opposed to just a tech company that just says, "Hey, we want to go in sports."
Yep.
Here, you speak the language and you can deal with clients and understand their real needs. So good. All right, Griff, what you got, bud?
Um, Hi. Yeah, I want to uh say like, what was your favorite experience working for any of the sports teams, and also um, which one did you really like working the best?
I would say there are 3 moments in my career that are my favorites, all for different reasons. Number one, the first time I ever promoted anybody. Why? Because I only got to into leadership and the positions I was in because I had great mentors and people that taught me and invested time into me. And the day I got to do that for the first time and say, like, I contributed to this person's success, like, was the whole reason I got into leadership. So that is a day I'll never forget and a person I'll never forget. Number two, winning the World Series. Like, I mean, a championship is just really hard to compare to anything. I walked in the parade. I got to fly to game one in Houston. I have a World Series ring. Like, those are things that, like, it's really hard to compare. And then finally, my first Flyers game. This whole career I've been on the road, if you will, and getting to move my family home and work that first game like for my hometown team was just kind of surreal. Yeah, I did it my whole career, but when you do it for a team you really care about, it was just amazing. So those were the three. I don't have a favorite league because all very much contradict themselves. I love the NFL experience, but I never worked for the Eagles. I worked for the Colts. Baseball is my sport. I played it my whole life, but the hours are insane. Um, and I did it for a very long time. They're all very different in their own ways. Candidly, I think my favorite to work in from a work-life balance perspective was the NFL, but hockey was probably my favorite. It's just such a fun sport to be a part of. They're quicker games. They keep you engaged. The fan base is very niche, but very engaged. So great question though.
Yeah. Any other questions? Who's got
Thank
another?
you.
Yep.
Hey, Zach, Dave Allen, how are you? Super
I'm
proud of
good.
you. Take that quarter zip off before you talk to the Sabres today.
Appreciate it.
Um, the American Marketing Association and our president, incoming president is on here, worked on a case study for the MLB. Um, and the MLB was more concerned with fan engagement, but not necessarily to go to a game or even to go to an event. They just wanted more social media and more people wearing MLB jerseys, I guess, and hats and all that kind of stuff. How do you think AI can help the MLB do that kind of stuff? Because most of Phillies don't need any more butts and seats, and maybe Washington does now because I'm from Washington. But if they came to you, and maybe they are coming to you with this problem for the league, how would you attack it from an AI perspective?
It's a loaded question, so I'll try to keep this concise as much as I can. So first and foremost, Major League Baseball is the league in which we have the most opportunity still to gain. And obviously, what we do right now a lot is on driving revenue, right? Which is different from this example. But as a whole, the league, love the league. I feel like they're a little bit more old school in some of their approaches, and I think that they're coming along and starting to take the necessary steps to really try to move not only the game along, but the league along. I think they have some issues ahead of them. Like they have the oldest demographic, right? They're trying to reach youth. Their TV deal does not, the way their current TV deals are set up does not help them with that because if you're streaming out of market, you can't watch a lot of the games. So they have a number of issues, and I think I'm guessing here, but I would have guessed that a number of those uh, that approach in general is stemming from trying to just continue to expand the brand, trying to reach youth, and how all that ties in with us. There's a couple different things. So first of all, not to get too much in the weeds, but the one of the hot topics right now is data and data warehouses and how we're using data are a topic that every team is doing differently, is further along in their data journey. Um, when I was at the Nationals, they did something extremely well as they saw what the future could look like by having data not just from ticket buyers, but data on if you have the right POS systems. What are people purchasing while they're in the ballpark? What are they purchasing online in the team stores? Can we identify that someone might have two young kids because they've bought consistently two youth jerseys for the last so many years, whatever. If you can get that data, you can get ticketing data, you can get merchandise, food and beverage, etc. You can house it in one area. The Nationals are ahead of the curve, and I hope that they're still heading in this direction of building what's called customer profiles. If you start to have some of that data, you can then use AI to analyze it, right? And you can then come up with a couple things. Predictive modeling. If you're looking at simply just putting hats on heads, you're trying to have people engage with the brand, maybe purchase some of the merch, whatever it might be, by having better insights on their history, their demographic, etc. Number one, you can use AI for predictive modeling. What are the percentages, or what's the chance that we can increase their spend? What does the family dynamic look like based on what our anticipations? One of the big steps, this is going back to the ballpark, but I think where we can come in is first and foremost, any data that they have in a subset that we can isolate and push some kind of specific messaging to, whatever that is. I mean, that's very vague, but whatever they want to do with it, whether it's somebody, that we see. I go back to the children example. We've identified that this is a family of four, most likely. They have two kids, and we've seen them progressively buy clothes up into X. we can then could we put customized offers out for this segment of our data of families of four that have kids in this anticipated age range, push 15% off the next time they're at the team store for youth apparel. Could we see like from the buying history that we have in the ballpark from our POS systems and see that this family comes out twice a year for the last 3 years. They spend about X a month, and we've noticed that there are a Goose Island beer purchased every single time they attend. Well, this year after that second game attended, they're going to get a specific offer pushed out for a free Goose Island at their next game. Now we've walked them from a 2-game buyer to a 3-game buyer minimum in that. So the problem is what we do right now is so segmented because a lot of teams' data is not that great. It's messy. The better the data gets, the more we can infuse AI into it to segment the data, understand predictively what we expect their habits to be in the future, and then push very specialized and specific marketing messaging to kind of guide the buyer in that process, if that will. Sorry, that last part was a little jumbled, but that's where I see it going. The better the data gets, we can put it in there to predict where the future habits, segment those buckets, and do very specific offers, buy now incentives, whatever you would want to push out utilizing our software. Because the more specific the data, the more specialized we can be in what we're pushing out. Hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, you're spot on. The demo for the case study was 12 to 27-year-olds.
Yep.
And as you know, researching 12 to 17-year-olds is almost impossible to do directly. So you'd have to have some kind of AI solution for that to sort of work from that. And the demo we found 18 to 27 was not big on nostalgia. So pushing be like your dad and your mom and have a baseball signed by was not something that they really were thinking about. So
Well, and I think as it progresses, Dave, like AI can be used for, imagery. It can be used to create video content. And in today's world, I think there's teams that are trying to leverage influencers. How do we tap into that? How can we compensate them enough to want to push our brand and into what they're doing, knowing the hold that they have on youth. I mean, a lot of this started with the Let the Kids Play campaign that MLB did. They realized they really had to get it. That was a couple of years ago where they highlighted a lot of the young stars, the Machados, the Sotos, etc. And they realize that there's a real problem there, and the youth is also streaming. They're watching less games because they're out of market. The problem with the TV deals right there, and also to your point, like it's less about the game and it's more about the experience these days. So tapping into that has been really hard for MLB. But I think if they can get out of their own way on a per team basis, and even at the league level, data wise, I think there's a real opportunity. And we're just one arm of what they can do with AI. We're just the messaging component to it, but creating content, from a marketing lift perspective, being able to turn things around in half the time and be very specialized in what's hitting, what's not, and engagement. AI can do all that. They just, you need the resources and the tools to do it.
all right. Thanks. Great answer.
We've got a couple more minutes here. Any other one more question for Zach from the students? Anybody?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah, Grace.
How do you think using AI as a tool to improve sales? Like, have you seen any changes in improvement?
So you're saying like for the team specifically?
Yeah, I know you're on the opposite side of that, but have you guys personally seen any improvement?
Absolutely. I mean, we wouldn't be in business if we didn't. I think we were a very small tech company when this all started, and it was just use case after use case after use case of these teams finding success, and it just kind of grew. To give you an idea, since 2020, we're now at 240 partners. We saw 100% growth last year. We have one sales guy. One. Why? Because it's a very small industry. A lot of people know what other people are doing, and we have all of the use cases and the data to back the successes we've had with teams. So absolutely, we're reaching subsets of information, or we're reaching out to subsets of data that previously teams never would have even tapped into for having their staff reach out. We're finding new ways to market and share best practices across all leagues. Like the other day, I think it was We shared something the New York Jets were doing with the Fort Wayne Tin Caps minor league baseball team, and then we shared something from the Amarillo Sod Poodles minor league team. We shared that with the Sabres, right? But historically, that never would have happened. But the sharing of best practices, because of what the AI has been able to do for these teams, teams are more open also to ideas, regardless of where they're coming from, if you can back it with success. And then two, AI as a whole, even outside of us, teams are getting smarter about what they can use it for. We were just tipping, it was just the tip of the iceberg when I worked at the Flyers, even just people in the office using it in their day to day, crafting email copy, right? Analyzing data. Like that used to take hours of people's time. When you free up hours, there's money to be made on the other side of those hours that they're getting back in their day. And that's also something I barely even touched on, but like a lot of teams are starting to figure out. I was like, oh, at a baseline, I can throw an email idea into ChatGPT, it'll spit it out for me, right? That I need to send. That concept and using even Copilot, that's tapped into a lot of teams in their Microsoft agreements, can analyze data that you have very quickly, produce reports very quickly. So time saving, revenue production, and then the communication piece is where we come in as well.
Zach, real quick,
Thank you.
because I know we're butted up against it. So, one piece of advice you'd give for the students who are actively going out and selling Flyers and Wings tickets, knowing the landscape, knowing the team performance, Winter Olympics going on, what would you say they need to do so that they hit their minimum requirements so that they do a good job?
Okay, another loaded question, but again, I'll keep it short. First and foremost, I love this program. I started it when I was at the Flyers, so I am a little biased. But I said this when I was at the Flyers, and I'll say it again now. It's only successful to the Flyers if they hire people out of this. Okay, I want to be very clear about that. Like, yes, this drives revenue, but does it move the needle enough that it's going to completely change everything? Everything they're doing on the business side? No. Like the value to the Flyers is hopefully identifying future talent in this room that can potentially work for them one day. So with that in mind, this is not always going to be the easiest project that you've ever done, right? There's going to be times where for some of you, sales is a foreign concept and it scares the hell out of you. For others, you're more type A like myself. But regardless of where you fall, this is a real opportunity for all of you to be recognized for your work and also have a real opportunity and not a dotted line, but a straight line to the team with an opportunity to interview with them. So I would implore you guys all to take that very seriously. Number one, the more creative you are, the more tickets you're going to sell. This is not just simply let me ask my friends and family, and hopefully get a start there. I want you to start there, but there's more opportunity out there. So be creative. Number two, you guys are all growing up with social media and technology. How can you leverage that to get the message out? About what you're offering. Number three, know the value proposition, meaning like know what you offer that others can't. There's a discount you're getting that most people don't have access to. Number two, be prepared for pushback. It's a part of sales. People are going to have issues with the idea, or we as human beings like to be in control of our decisions and our thoughts. When you bring a new idea to them, there's always concern with that. It's called an objection, right? So be prepared for those, know they're coming, and when they do come up, know why somebody should be interested in wanting to buy from you and not elsewhere. The discounts they're saving. If they have problem with how the team's playing, it's about what took them to games in the first place, right? It's about the experience, sharing a night with their friends, their family, right? Whatever it might be. So remind them of that. And then finally, coming out of all this, I encourage you guys, network your butts off, right? You're getting the chance to connect with me. I have a LinkedIn. If you find me and you reach out to me, I will respond, right? You're going to get a chance to meet a lot of people at the Flyers when you go for the recap. Like those are opportunities for you. Treat yourself like a brand, and your job is to market that brand as much as you possibly can. It's not easy to break into this industry, but you have a real opportunity here to make an impact. So I encourage you guys all. This is not just a small project that Professor Lutz has you doing. This is an opportunity for you in your career, and all it takes is one opportunity to break into the industry, and then the rest is downhill from there, kind of.
Great. All right. So Zach, you mentioned it. If students want to get in touch with you, the best thing is LinkedIn. Is that the best way to connect with you?
Best way to connect with me, I'll tell you what, as long as um, everybody is cognizant of my schedule, I will throw my email in here. if anybody does want to set up time to chat, I'm open to that. Just please understand, like my schedule looks like a Tetris board. So please bear with me. It may take a little time to get on there, but that is my email. I'm always happy if somebody does want to chat one off. More than happy to do it.
All right. Well, thank you very much. It's great catching up with you, and I'm really glad to hear you're doing well with the new initiative. And it sounds really fascinating. I'd love to have a follow-up conversation. I mean, I feel like it opened up so many other topics that we could have hit on today. But really appreciate your time, and we'll talk soon.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys having me. Appreciate the kind words and everything like that. And Dave and JP, our collegiate space is growing. Just a little plug there for you. We can always have a conversation, but no, seriously, like appreciate the time and you guys enjoy the rest of your week and your weekends.
Got it.
Thanks, everybody.